Well, hello, everybody. I am excited. Today we have Birgitte here with us today to share a Your Story Matters conversation. Birgitte is a certified grief coach, certified success coach, and the creator of Dance Away Sadness to help you release the part of grief that words just cannot touch. I love dance. I don't like choreographed dance, but I love dance in the form of just being able to allow yourself to be free in the movement. It's so freeing, and you can find so much joy in just transforming your whole mood, right? If you get the right song on. I'm excited to talk about that as well. Birgitte is also an author of the book Seeking Peace, the proven five fingers method to thrive through change effortlessly. And today Birgitte comes to share her story of how she's been able to overcome a great deal of pain and loss, and how she has used these events in her life to lift others up. I'm excited to give you the floor, Birgitte, and just kind of learn and hear from you some of those painful moments, those moments that like transformed you, like have almost like stamped something into your soul. I do believe you've had great deals of loss, and grief is coming into your grief coach. So coming into that space, you've obviously experienced grief on many levels. So I'd love for you to share kind of that journey of where.
Well, thank you so much, Stacey. It's such an honor to be able to be here with you and all our community in here. And yeah, it's looking back, it's actually an interesting thing. It's one of those that, you know, the saying that what doesn't kill you make you stronger or at least smarter and wiser. With the dancing, it's actually started back when I was a kid, actually. I grew up being told I was a stiff, clumsy, stupid, ugly duckling with awful voice who should never think about dancing or speaking or dream to become a doctor.
Oh, my mom used to call me, have you ever seen the Three's a Company, that sitcom? So Christy was the ditzy blonde that was super clumsy, and my mom used to call me Christy all the time growing up because I was a ditzy, clumsy blonde.
No one ever called, you know, apparently we have similar childhood, just a few thousand miles away.
Yes.
But you know, and so with that alone, and it was one of those things that somehow, some way, and when I went to college, even my academic advisor told me that I was too stupid to become a doctor. I was like, really? And so yeah, so you know, somehow, some way, I find that when you have hope and you allow people to support you, because it's just always somebody. I remember when there was one time in medical training, I was so ready to just sit on a railroad track. I don't know if anybody ever in here ever have that experience. I mean, I was getting ready to walk out, and then the phone keep on ringing, and then very soon I learned that, you know, people actually, there are people who still willing to support me, like kind of surprise support. And I allow myself to be supported, and so managed to get my doctorate degree and actually become a board certified oncologist. But it's one of those things that in my early days, I learned that if you keep your hope and hang on to your dream, even everybody else says what have you, and allowing support, it's possible. But I think you probably read some of my story or something. So that was that. I managed to become a doctor, and then in 2010 and 11. The life I knew, seemingly to me at the time, suddenly fell apart. I went through divorce, death of loved ones, financial loss, and cancer all happened in 2 years. And again, it was one of those things, and that's actually when you mentioned Dance Away Sadness. That's when I created Dance Away Sadness. After I was told that I was a stiff, clumsy, stupid, ugly duckling, I actually stopped dancing. I stopped dancing for like 30 years. But when I was going through pain, it was one of those that something in me just said, you know what, just move to the music. And so there was a lot of Enya in the little space between my bed and my closet, because that's all I have in my bedroom. But it was a lot of Enya. I don't know anybody here like Enya or not. And so
I'm not sure what kind of dance that is.
well, it's a freestyle dancing. It's just basically just listen to your heart and just release the deepest emotion. With Dance Away Sadness, it's a freestyle dancing. So actually, I don't tell you what to do, because at the end of the day, like you said, you don't like choreographed dance, but you like the more freestyle. At the end of the day, I discovered that particularly when we're going through tough times, there is kind of like a pent up energy. And when you are able to release that, Dr. Joe Dispenza says that when you read or hear something, it got in your brain. But when you experience something impactful, whether that impactful thing is like something fun, like getting married or having a baby, or something traumatizing, it got into your cells. And so when it kind of sit in your cell, then for us to be able to release it fully, and that's why with Dance Away Sadness, we find a lot of time it's help people with the current grief. And a lot of people actually come for one thing and then they end up releasing things from like 20, 30 years ago, because it was all this time buried in the body, right? And then now when you with the movement and the music and it's coaching, I coach you through the whole time too. It's kind of release everything out and just let it go. And so that's so beautiful. And that, because sometimes how like sometimes we feel things so deeply but we don't have words for it. And so with the dance, you don't have to say a thing, and you don't have to be a dancer. I'm still not a dancer. By the way, I don't do choreographed dance either. I'll be like, I kid you not. I try to learn salsa. One of this day, my friends was like, oh, you do this freestyle dancing? Come on, you got to do salsa. And I think I embarrassed her and I embarrassed the instructor and I embarrassed myself. I'm like, never mind the choreographed dancing. Everybody's like, the girl doesn't know left from right.
That is my story too, sister. Last year, I was doing Come Dance With Me lives within the community. And a couple of times I didn't have my music picked out. And so I just grabbed a YouTube video. And there was this Caribbean, and I love the Caribbean dance. I love how they sway their hips. I love how they can, they just have so much rhythm. They're just it's such a beautiful dance. And so there was these Caribbean girls that did a YouTube video, and I brought that to the app, and I'm like, how are they moving that way? I just could not figure it out. I was laughing at myself so hard, but at the same time, that was a good release, even though I was still laughing at myself. So dance like no one's watching, ladies.
Yeah, exactly. Dance like no one's watching. Close your eyes. Don't hit anybody, but you close your eyes and just pretend the word is yours, because that's what it is all about, right? But so I started dancing at the time, and that's how Dance Away Sadness come about. Because with my background in oncology, what I soon realized it was so helpful for me, I figure it can help other people too, and so I created Dance Away Sadness. And then actually from there, I went to just to help myself. Actually, I went through coaching, through grief coaching, and then to a life coaching. And to my surprise, in a matter of two years or something, I went from heartbroken, sick all the time, miserable all the time, to living a life beyond my dream. So just so many wonderful things. And so I figured, with my work being an oncologist, and all. It will be helpful for my clients as well, for people around me, my clients, my friend, and the people I know. So I learned the grief coaching as well as the life coaching, because I want to be able to do it well and do it right, and combine that with dance away sadness. And so that was then. And then a couple years back, for whatever reason, my dominant hand, it suddenly became paralyzed. And I was like, and so much so that I could not even hold the pen. And it was one of those things. It was traumatizing because the doctor has no idea why, but it's also kind of like comical looking back. It was like one time I was standing in my closet, something about the closet, right? And I was standing in my closet, and I suddenly just have so much empathy for the gentleman in our life. You know how guys always say, my God, these crazy bra things, what's the heck, with the hook and all these things. And I mean, we learned that since we were like, that big, right? So we never really kind of think. And try to do that with your non-dominant hand backward. And I was like, oh my God, now I know what this guy's feeling. Oh, like it was impossible. It took me 15 minutes to put the bra on. I'm like, forget this. I just kind of like, and so, but it was one of those things. And so when that happened, the interesting thing was, unlike with the previous times where I was ready to either take a bottle of pill or actually sit on a railroad track or all these things, this time I did not experience any of the despair, anguish, agony, or depression. And so that's when I realized that not only the tools and skills that I learned from grief and life coaching helped me to recover from it, but it's also actually helped me, since I've been using it since then to help my clients, I kind of learned to use it. If you ever been to a doctor's office, the doctor's got to be able to go, right? And so I learned to use it so efficiently and effectively, and then I end up using it for myself, and my hand became paralyzed. And so that's when I realized I really has discovered how to, for all of us, to be able to navigate the day-to-day life ups and downs, because in a way life is a little bit like a dance. Sometimes you got ahead, and sometimes you got your both feet step on, right? One after another. You're like, what the heck? And usually when you're wearing a sandal, so your toes got right step on, right? And so when you do that, and this Seeking Peace book here that you mentioned, it's actually allow you to use something as simple as your 5 fingers, because that's what I do at the clinic. I'm like, I got to be able to do this quick for the client. So that's why I put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and something that we all can do every day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so that's when I ended up deciding that, it's something that, particularly this was coming to the pandemic time, that everybody can benefit from, with all the changes that we're going through. And I ended up writing the book. And along that journey, I actually also, I was doing a free grief class for one of the California fire. Here I live in California, and I met a girl from Sub-Saharan. She came from the Sub-Saharan regions, and her thing was, she was asking for help with grief because she was diagnosed with a curable liver cancer when she was 10 years old. Now it's curable if it's curable unless you and everyone you know don't have the money to get you into the city, never mind have the surgery. And so that's what happened with her. By the time I met her for 7-something years, she just slowly and surely the kind of like become suffer more and more, because she didn't have she just didn't know anyone to be able to help her to even just get to the city. They have hospital that can do it for free if they can get to the city, but they didn't have the means to do that. And so she so that from there, and by the time I met Ida, the girl's name Ida, by the time I met Ida, she already know that she was dying. And unlike most kids, Ida's last wish was that no other child die from cancer because of poverty.
Oh,
And so I actually, from there, Ida did pass away like a week before her 18th birthday. And so with that, I actually founded the other part of from this, which is the International Childhood Cancer Charity. And the goal is, the mission of the International Childhood Cancer Charity is to empower, in addition to emotionally and physically heal impoverished children with cancer. And I'm sharing that because if you look at the Seeking, any of my books, these are both my books, The Gratitude Journal and Seeking Peace. If you look in there, you see that it says that all proceeds goes to the International Childhood Cancer Charity to be able to help kids around the world who doesn't have the means. Because if we are able to help them from their cancer and they are able to heal emotionally and physically and be empowered, then they will be able to bring their light into community, and it's become a trickle effect for humanity. So but that's
amazing that you donate the proceeds to that foundation. God bless your heart for doing that, Birgitte, because just to hear that young lady's dying wish is that no kid will die of cancer. What a selfless act to actually have, like, instead of just falling into that pity party that we could, why did this happen to me, or any of those things. She was paying it forward. And now you get to be a vehicle to make that happen, to honor her wish. That is such a powerful story.
Thank you so much. But yeah, it is one of those, I discovered that too. I was like, wow, a lot of kids, like you said, would have been doing something else and into the pity party, and there was a part of her that was really sad, understandably. We all would, but I was like, wow, that you want to have that, to be able to help kids. And it's possibly because she was an amazing little girl, and her dream actually was to become a pediatric nurse. It was like she was telling me, she's like, in the little village, she always helped the younger kids and all these things, and she loved children. And so it was a loss, I would say, for her family and also for the people she would have helped. And we don't want that loss to keep happening with kids and with people.
That's right. Like, so Birgitte, I know you you ran over that 2 years of adversity where you said you had within that 2-year span, you had a divorce, you lost a parent, and financial loss, and you were diagnosed with cancer. Like, that is a lot to process in 2 years. And for you to still be smiling, dancing it out is remarkable. Like, I would have been a big puddle of a mess on the floor.
Well, to be honest, was I always smiled? No, I would that will be lying beyond everything, right? And there were time at the beginning in particular, at the, it was like, oh my God, why is all this thing happen? And it was like one of those feeling, like once you got through something and then it's the next thing and it's the next thing. And it's like, you're like, there were plenty of time I just go to the bathroom and lock myself up, and I'm like, when is this, pardon, whatever it is, profanity, blank, 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 they're gonna freaking end, right? And so yeah, exactly. And so that was definitely, and that was the highlight. Actually, I think if I look back, really, there was like 11 or 12 different things that happened, but it's all kind of blend in together. It was like every other month something happened. And I would say, you know, and particularly at the beginning, I am so grateful partly for my doctor who for whatever reason he sensed that and jump in and just help me out, and just like back before, it was allowing the support, and this doctor in particular, even though he was a general practitioner, he's very intuitive, and so he's kind of like able to just extend an extra support. And I, at the beginning, it was relying on a lot of support, and then at some point I would say, and perhaps it's with the dancing and some other things too, that I just suddenly, you know, I decided that I'm going to thrive. I'm not going to just survive regardless of all things that's going on. I'm going to thrive, and it is a choice that we can make, and it's not always an easy choice, but it's a choice that we can make. We can say, you know what,
Especially when all the odds are coming up against you, right? Like that railroad track looks super comfy. Like I get it, because I've had moments in my life where I've wanted to drive into oncoming traffic. I won't do that. You're okay, like friends and family out there on the road. I won't drive into oncoming traffic. But those thoughts do come across our minds sometimes when we're up against adversity. And it's so challenging, but like you said, we have the choice to thrive.
Yep.
No matter what comes at us. We can have 2 left feet. We have no control over someone stepping over our clumsy feet. But we do have the control of our thought process, and being able to take those painful situations and not allow them to destroy us, but to strengthen us.
Yes, exactly. Not to let the painful situation to destroy us, and not to be afraid. I would say, looking back, it could be, and I think for some people, you know, Stacy, they say, I want to do this. I don't know how to do this, and I am too scared to allow help. And it's so understandable. If you've been hurt that many times, you're like, how do I know that you're not gonna just hurt me? It is happening with part of the things that happened with the in that 2 years was, I grew up in a fairly traditional Asian family, and in that, and you would think that when your marriage suddenly end the way that it was and so forth, that you know, like when things happen, you think your family will be by your side. And little did I know, even though I grew up in the culture, I didn't think about it, but in that culture, when something good happened, it's always the guy. When something bad happened, it's always the woman. And so regardless of what happening, everybody turned to me and my mother, not only just me. It was like, oh, why do you do that? You must be not a good wife and all these things. Like, what? And then also even turned to my mother. Look at you. You don't know how to teach your daughter.
Oh,
and so
hard.
Before you know it, it's like, oh my God, I thought I will have everybody, and then everyone, I suddenly become the black sheep of the family. I don't know if you ever know anyone going through that, or, you know, but sometimes it's you yourself. I mean, we know people, you know, going through tough times, and then the family turns against them, and it was one of those things. But you know, it's something that even when that happened, and it can definitely, it's one of those can make us kind of like really sketchy about people, right? About receiving help.
Hard like shell that we put around ourselves to guard and protect, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you know, sometimes we just need to listen to our intuitions and allow support, because there is no way. I mean, there is no way we go through this life without support. And I would say that with all that has happened, if because a lot of people ask me, it's like, so what's the main thing? That I was like, don't give up, just hang on to that, because even if you are told this and that, who knows, a stiff, clumsy, ugly duckling could turn and create a dance program. And so we never know, we all have the ability inside of ourselves, right? And we just want to hang on to that hope, to that faith that we're able to do it, and then to allow support, really.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever find out what happened to your hand? If it was like it was just
Nope.
like God's like, I'm pausing your hand. We're going to teach you something in this season.
Exactly. It was like I nobody know. I live in Los Angeles area, and I'm fortunate. I have access to like the top-notch doctor, and nope, it was one of those things. At very soon they were like, well, we don't think it's cancer, and we don't think it's what the other thing. They like, we don't think it's cancer or Parkinson or something like that. We have no idea why.
Oh.
and my background was a veterinarian oncologist, and so I basically was like, I can't even do half of the work that I was supposed to do. No
Right.
kidding. They were like, well, sorry, but maybe you can try physical therapy so your hand don't atrophy or something. So I'm grateful that the hand's perfectly fine, and it's only better than before now. But it was one of those things that nobody, like you said, it's kind of like God, like life, says, yeah, we're gonna teach you a lesson through your hand. And I'm grateful that from that, that's what motivates me when I look back at everything. I'm like, well, if I could go through this and actually continue to have peace of mind, was the most important thing for me, to go through the changes, and at the same time, when the hand was happening, for some reason, very shortly after, my mother also suddenly got super ill. And then my relationship with my companion for 7 years suddenly dissolved too. And so it's about like another one of those things that like after this. But it was something that I was like, I can continue. I was able to continue to have peace of mind and to thrive and to help people and live life to the fullest. And that's actually motivate me to write the Seeking Peace book.
Oh, that is such a powerful story of strength, Birgitte. Like, just for all that you've been through and still be able to keep your mind focused on the hope and the positives, and like, we'll get through this, and always kind of looking forward, not backwards, or falling into that pity trap, because I can't say that I haven't fallen into that trap many times over my adversities. And you are just remarkable, like you truly are. And I love, I can sympathize with the hand in a lot of ways. I was in a car accident, and I sliced the palm of my hand.
Oh, wow.
And it had locked up like this, like I couldn't unlock it. So,
yeah.
and then the time they started doing physiotherapy, they had to put a brace, a cast on, and just keep stretching my hand out. Like, as you can see, like I don't have like my hand, like it's not, I have permanent damage because it got locked up and all my tendons gotten tight. And even to this day, sometimes if it's really cold out, it's like it cramps up and I can't even brush my hair. Now, this is my dominant hand as well. And I understand that trying to get dressed and undressed is a challenge, and going to the washroom and brushing your hair and eating and typing, like all the things, a mouse, like I had to learn everything with my left hand. And I was like, this is retarded, but you push through. And then eventually, I have use of my hand. It's not at full capacity, but I'm super thankful that I got it back. So, but I understand. How long was that? How long did you experience the paralyzation of that hand?
I would say it's somewhere between about 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was progressive within a matter of, it started with one finger. I was like that, like you said in the morning, I was like, why is, I remember I was like holding my hairbrush or something, and I was like, why is this hands like not, like not moving with the rest? It's like, how freaking weird. My finger fall asleep or something. It didn't even register to me. I mean, and I was like, that's really weird. Usually, because when your hand or something fall asleep, you can feel it, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, is my finger fall asleep? And then I noticed it kind of like, okay, it's dragging more. And it's like within 2 weeks, it's the whole thing just spread through, and it was all the way. Like I lost my arm strength too, not just the
Oh,
hand.
wow.
Yeah, so like I couldn't even pick up like a cup. I was
Use your
so mad.
elbow or anything. Like,
Yeah, you're like, okay, well, we're gonna learn new things with the left hand, which is the great thing is now I actually got, I like yourself, I learned to use my left hand. So I'm like, hey, I'm ambidextrous now. I got to the point, I even learned to use chopstick with my left hand.
oh, you are a rock star.
So I can, like, when you have, usually you eat with chopstick, it's really slow. I'm like, well, I can be double the speed of everybody else now, going with both hands.
That's more for you. That's so good. That's so good. Oh, that's so powerful. I just commit. I just honor you because I can't imagine some of the things, like such a short period of time to just be ripped apart and then having the disconnect with your family. That would have been like an extra dose of acid on all of your open wounds. Like it would have just been such a hard season to process. And then how you've been able just to keep your eyes focused on like, I can thrive. I want to thrive, and hanging on to that thought and dancing it out, and getting the right support and people in your corner to guide you and to lean on, because we can't, like you said, we cannot do this life alone. We're not meant to. We're built for community, and we need each other. It takes a village to get through trauma, to raise a family, to process relational disconnects. Like we need each other. And I'm so glad that you had the strength to ask for help and allow it in, because that's another piece that we struggle with when we've gone through hurt. And how you've taken all of that pain and now you've healed, and now you can give it back to the world. Now, I would be so bold to say, Birgitte, I want you to come and dance with us, and teach, and should take us to a session of your dancing class, because I think I have 2 left feet too. I try to think I got rhythm, but I can look like a fish out of water, and I just don't care.
I mean, we're all unique and we're all special, and so I'll be very honored to teach and to dance with you and the community. Absolutely, it will be a great honor. But yeah, we're all special. It's like some people, maybe it's good for them to be this super choreographed dance, and but there is a like if you look at little girl always dance and hop around, and they look beautiful doing that, because they're not worrying about what you're thinking, and it's just like there is a dancer in each and every one of us, and we just want to allow ourselves to unleash her, just like we unleash our brilliance, our diamond. I mean, we each and every one of us is like a lot of time a diamond, right? Except that, if you ever see one of those things where it's like pile up with dirt on top of it, and so from everything in life, we just want to allow ourselves to be to shine through, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm a huge believer that everybody has a special gifting, and and like you said, we all have a dancer within us. And it doesn't mean that we have to be, you know, in a dance class or dance on stage or do anything of the performing arts necessarily. We could just be doing chores and dancing it out, you
Yeah.
know, using
Yeah.
our room as a microphone, which I can't sing either. Um, so I'm like the seagull from The Little Mermaid, you know, squawking away. Like it's, I had someone once told me I was tone deaf. I'm like, that rightfully could be so. But I love music. I love what it does to me. I love how it can lift me up, and just having certain playlists that
Mhm.
for each mood that I got going on. If I need energy, I've got music for that. If I need to relax, I got music for that. And if I just need to just be, you know.
Yeah.
So creating your playlist is super. What kind of music is it that you use when you do your dance stuff? Is it just instrumental or what is it?
It's actually a combination. It's a huge, so I don't use, I typically do not use heavy metal, like very heavy metal
Thank
or
you, because I don't know if I could start banging my head against the wall, because that's what that music makes me want to do.
right, you know, it just it doesn't seem to work very well, the very heavy metal, but it's anywhere from a lot of the new age music, the original one I was dancing to Enya, right? But a lot of the new age music, and then anywhere from a little bit of ballroom to even things like Gloria Stefan, and so a lot of different variety of music, because each of them has a different tempo and kind of like allow us to do something. Like I have a song literally called Don't Cry.
Hmm.
And so, you know, it's one of those that we actually use the song. It's instrumental, but the title of the song is Don't Cry. But it's kind of like one of those very interesting, because a lot of time, yes, people might tell us don't cry and be brave, but even more, how many times you tell yourself, be strong, don't cry, tough it up. And really, I mean, life's tough enough without you trying to tough it up. And it is okay to cry. It's actually good to cry.
Music,
Be-
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our tears is like the glue that hold our broken hearts back together. So it's a good thing to cry when we feel like to cry. But so it's just an example. Back to your question, it's an example. I'm grateful. I seems to be intuitively drawn to the song that just very helpful, and also it's also I do this as a group, which is something we can do as well as one-on-one. And so when it's one-on-one, it's even more tuning into what you need as well as your music taste. Like I have one person said, okay, I cannot handle classical music. It's like, do not have a single piece of classical music, which is actually a very interesting thing about that. He, so we did Dance Away Sadness. I'm like, absolutely no classical music, not even something that sounds remotely like classical music, right? And so, and it was a one-on-one, and she came to me for something different. And through Dance Away Sadness, we learn about grief, about things that happened like some 35 years ago, really. This lady's in her early 50s, and some 35 years ago that was traumatizing her.
Hmm.
So we work through the grief. As a grief coach, I work through the current grief as well as that. And that is actually the but amazingly is one of the reasons he couldn't handle classical music.
Right. It makes sense. There's
and
this
and
one, yeah, there's a one song out there that when I hear it like at a store, very rare now unless they're playing oldies, but there's one song that was on replay during a
mm,
time when I was being raped. And if that song comes on, I am like, I'm almost like I'm Gumby and I'm like
yeah,
puddle. Like I lose
yeah,
all strength in me. It's
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah,
What that song does to me.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
very
exactly.
connected.
And that's very true. It has things that happen. Because what happened is it's still in the cellular memory, even if it is like
Mm.
she didn't remember about this. She just like, I don't know, I just never liked classical music. Well, it's actually once we released that from her, she was fine with classical music. So
Oh,
the last sessions that we have, she's like, I think I'm fine with classical music now. Do you mind testing it out? At least if I fell apart, she's like, if she fell apart, I'm right there, right? This was sort of
yeah.
like, I was like, you can try classical music. And so it was allow her to be back in her power. She was able to stand fully in her power again. And it
That
just
is
is
such
beautiful.
a great story. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so powerful that we can heal from those things. So maybe you can help me heal from that particular instance. But I don't love that song that much, so it's all good with me.
Yeah, yeah.
I am just so honored for you to come and share your story and your joy. And your love just like jumps through the screen. I am so blessed by you.
Thank you.
And so just how do people get their hands on your book? So just as a reminder, friends, all the proceeds go towards the International Cancer Society, Children's Cancer Society. And so that is such a remarkable gift that you get to give back to the world in honor of your friend. But how do people here in the community, how do they get their hands on your books?
They're both available on Amazon in any country. If you are in a country that has Amazon, then the Amazon carry it, and it is so any Amazon, the US, the UK, even Europeans, Latin America, India, wherever you are, it's available in
Oh,
Amazon in every country. And you can type in the title "Seeking Peace," and or you can type in my name, Birgitte 10, and then it'll show all the both books under my name. So yeah,
beautiful. I'll make sure to put a link here, or
yeah.
even in the group. I can maybe link to the books themselves to make it a little easier for people.
Thank
But
you.
that is unbelievable that you get to do that. And what a great mission that you get to sow seeds back into. And then I would be super honored. We can talk about it after, but to have you come and do a dance session with
Yeah.
that. That would be such a joy. And if anyone wants to work with you one-on-one, or even just continue on doing some group
Mhm.
sessions with you, whatever it is that you offer, how do they get a hold of you and get in touch and dive into working with you one-on-one?
Absolutely. So a couple easy way, and the first way is you can go to my website, joyfulrichesbeyondgrief.com. And actually, I have two gifts for our audience today, for our community in general. I have two gifts. The first one is in there. I mentioned briefly the 5 fingers. So this is the Seeking Peace, has it in detail, and also the Seeking Peace has the 5 fingers for when we're facing changes and challenges, and a lot of detail. But if you kind of like want to have a taste of it, so to say, or somebody who are going through tough times. Nowadays, we see so many people going through tough times. Then I actually I have put a little package for you where it has the Seeking Peace daily tips. So it's kind of like what you do when you first wake up in the morning and throughout the day, using your 5 fingers to help it remember. As well as in that little package, also it has the 9 myths about grief. There are a lot of different misunderstanding about grief, but also if you know somebody who's having tough time, it has the do's and don'ts when someone is grieving. And so you'll be able to be there for your loved one or your friend who are having tough time. So you simply go to my website, and then when you go to the website, the homepage will have a sign, a starburst sign, yellow starburst sign, says "Get your gift here," and you can get your gift right there. And so that is one way to connect with me, because on that website you'll also be able to make an appointment with me for a complimentary consultation and laser coaching, which is my second gift for this community. If you want to chat with me and now you're like, I have this going on, I'm not sure if this is something that can be helped, just make an appointment. It will be a complimentary consultation and laser coaching, right? For 30 minutes, complimentary laser coaching and consultation. So.
Oh, what a beautiful gifts. I'm excited to get my own hands on your resource because it sounds absolutely amazing. And then your books, we'll put a link in here for that so we can support that organization. And then just grab a hold of this complimentary gift that she has for laser coaching, and then just getting an idea. And I feel like you got to be able to connect with Birgitte if you're going to work with her. So having that 30 minutes, just being able to share a bit of your struggle and seeing if she can help you with her laser coaching, you'll probably walk away with some golden nuggets, because she's just so generous here with our time together today. But I can see that she would do the same for you if you just reach out and take advantage of that complimentary session that she's offering. So go to her website. We'll have a link here down the bottom of this video that you can go to find her and book that session, get your free guide of the 5 fingers and what not to say to somebody that's grieving. Now that is gold, my friend, because we often will say the wrong things sometimes, not intentionally. We mean well, but I've done it myself. I've said some things that have been painful for somebody in the process of grief, and I didn't understand it at the time. So to have your resource and rewind my life, I think I could have probably saved someone a lot of heartache, but thankfully been able to repair that. Hopefully it's not still hindering a person's heart, but it is hard. Like, we want to say the right things and we want to support, but sometimes it comes out all backwards. So that alone in itself is gold. So I'm going to definitely be picking that up.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, like, when somebody having a tough time, we all have the best intention. Like if our friend having a tough time and we see them and we say, hey, how are you doing? How are you? And that actually can be a very hurtful thing. Saying how are you to somebody who are having a tough time. And because people, when they are having a loss or something, they when you say how are you, they kind of like either get confused. They're like, do you not know I'm having a tough time? Or even worse, a lot of people take it that I guess you just don't care. I'm having a tough time, and you kind of like just doing this automatic how are you, and you don't really care. Well, we actually care so much. So like in that gift package, in the info resource, you'll see that it will tell you what to say, which is something simple. You add on, how are you this afternoon? How are you today? And even just that tiny nuance, adding the word this afternoon or this morning or today, it's actually for people who are having a tough time. Then it tells them, oh, I'm having a tough time and you care so much. You want to know how I'm hanging on right now.
So
huge
good.
Different, right?
So good. And then it takes the shame off that person that is having the tough time, because we can really fall into that place. Like, I've got to get it together and I just can't pull it together. And then someone asks you that question, and then just adding that little phrase at the end, or that one word, just to allow that person that's struggling the reassurance that it's okay to be having a tough time. But am I okay in this hour? Maybe, maybe not. Right? So, and not to have shame up around it. So that is gold, Birgitte. That is gold. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I am just in closing, I just want to thank you ever so very much for taking time out of your day to come and share your story here with the community. And I'm just so honored, and I'm so excited for you to come back and share some dancing love with us.
Thank you so much, and an honor and a delight to be with you and the community.
Thank you, darling.